Hi, I'm Chitrangada Singh and you're watching the Rockford Circle Season 2. This is where I bring you the most fascinating stories about India's trendsetters from the world of business. While all the other pieces are bound by strict rules and strategy, the Queen is free to move in any direction she chooses. Today we're going to explore a story that demonstrates how in business, like in chess, sometimes the most powerful plays come from combining the Queen's bold moves with careful strategy. With his strategy and her instinct, they turned a passion project into India's pioneering luxury Ayurveda brand. Please welcome the Managing Director of Forest Essentials, Samrath Bedi. Hi, it's Samrath. Welcome to the Rockford Circle. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Come, we have to talk about my favorite brand, actually.
That's very kind.
Sam, you went to Doon School, right?
I went to the Doon School, yes.
Right, and then you go to New York and work at the World Trade Center.
That's right.
And then you decide to come back in 2000, which was a good year to come back.
Yep, especially in the World Trade Center.
I understand, yes, absolutely. And then you decide to come and join your mum, who's working in a garage. She's making candles and soaps, right?
That's right.
Firstly, I think women like that who just start something that small and they have the heart and the passion and the instinct to work on something like this is amazing. But the fact that you decide to come and join your mum, usually sons wouldn't really believe, acha, mummy kuch kar rahi hai, acha, whatever, she's just keeping busy. So what was it? What made you take that seriously?
I did corporate banking in New York, and when I came back, I thought I'll join a bank again. So while I was looking for a job, I saw that she had started this. And of course, like you said, I was like, oh God, look at the soaps and these candles and what are you going to do with it? But I saw the kind of grit and determination. You know, it was still very small, but the amount of time and focus she put into it, that it was inspirational for me. So I said, you know what, let me help you while I'm looking for a job. So I started doing the back end stuff, you know, a little bit of the accounting. We got the first computer, you know, stuff like that. Wow. And as it, as I continued doing it, it was becoming more interesting. And I thought it might be time to do something of my own as opposed to, you know, work in another corporate setup. And that's how we started.
And how many years had she been at it when you joined her?
So I came back in 2000, and that's pretty much when she had started as well. And I joined her in probably a year and a half later. So maybe in about 2001.
That's it?
Yep.
But I feel like mother and son duos are very hard to find. Usually it's the fathers who are starting the business and then the son joins.
That's right.
But this is definitely very unique. What's the equation between the two of you?
I think, when I got into this, it was bringing another aspect into the business. It's a bit of a yin and yang. She brings in a certain gut. She brings in all of that stuff that you need to really push through. And what I bring in is a lot of balance. I bring in a lot of process. I bring in a lot of things that you need as the business grows bigger. You know, strategic thinking of how to expand, how to make it bigger. So I think that combination has worked out well. And it's been a rocky road.
Really?
Yes.
It doesn't look like. It seems like everything is, handled.
Well, it's because when you start working, she doesn't have a business background, you know. And
it's all heart. So that's what, she's all heart, you're all mind.
Yeah.
It's like the perfect combination.
In some ways, always won by her. But I think when we set this up, I think it was finding each other's spot, finding each other's place, right? So when you get into it, you do everything. As an entrepreneur, you tend to doing everything. She does everything, I do everything. And then you start realizing what you're good at, what you bring to the table, how are you going to harmonize everything. So that's why I said rocky road. And of course, she's a mother, so she could always invoke the mother part of it, when things got too heated. But it's been an interesting journey.
So let's dive into the story of Forest Essentials. It's Ayurveda based, which mostly people would say jadi booty, people really don't have that kind of faith in it because everything is about science now, it's about new innovations and things like that. So how did you do this?
You're right, the perception of Ayurveda was, it's messy, it's old-fashioned, and it takes so much time. We know it's effective, but, it's just the whole process is too painful. But the efficacy was always there. Everybody knew that it worked, right? So when you talk about science, it's a 5,000-year-old holistic science which has come through practicality, and it pervades all parts of your life. So whether you talk about food, you talk about beauty, you talk about sleep, it has very practical reasoning behind it. So I think we took that, and what we were trying to do was, besides Ayurveda, was to see why wasn't India represented on a global stage, because we have so much going on for us as a country.
Yeah.
We're not just about making cheap products and cheap labor, and we have so much history, we have so much tradition. And why is that not being packaged nicely? Why is that not being represented correctly on a global stage? So I think we took the aspect of Ayurveda and used all of that, but then we were making the effort of actually making it modern, easy to use. And I think that was a very pioneering effort, because at that point, everyone had written of Ayurveda and said, no, we need to move to the Western world and we need products from the West and they're so good. But if you really look at it, I mean, we've done this full circle where you start from natural, you've gone on to chemicals, and now you've realized that you've got to come back to nature, right?
Yes.
And I think, it's funny because a lot of brands end up evolving to the market. Right? We got lucky because the market has evolved to us.
Exactly my question. How has the consumer evolved in the last 25 years? What's the change that you've seen in your consumers?
I think what we realized was when the consumer first came in, at that point, and I remember, we were doing our pricing because when my mother went deep into the formulations, some of our products were costing us more than some of the similar products that were being sold in the market. And we're trying to figure out how is it being sold. And then we realized that it all falls down to ingredients, how you make it, and just using of pure oil or using an actual saffron or actually using,
almond oil.
Almond oil.
I read about this, because some article was there where it said that Forest Essential actually has the highest percentage of almond oil, or it is all pure almond oil.
It's absolutely pure.
And then I saw a video how it's actually being made,
that's right.
I was really blown away. And you're right, it must be costing you a lot more than what's being sold in the market because you're selling 100% pure almond oil.
And that's when we found out that there are actually oils is a particularly, touchy subject because people can add cheap oils like a mineral oil, and you can actually add an almond scent or an almond or a mustard scent to it. So it doesn't do anything for you, right? So anyway, so we did that, and then we realized we had to, give a price which was inconceivable in India. So you either had, a 10 rupee soap back in that time, or you had a foreign imported soap, the Yardleys and
where
so on
they
and so
would
forth.
be willing to pay for it just because
and they were
it's
willing
imported.
because it had a Western name and great packaging.
Yeah.
I remember we priced our soap at 100 rupees in 2004, 2003. And everyone, even in our circle of friends, were like, you're crazy. Who's going to buy a soap for 100 rupees?
Yeah.
And we sold out everything that we had put on the shelf on day one. The entire store was sold out. Of course, we didn't know what supply chain was, so, scrambling around for the next couple of days. But it goes to show you that the consumer was starting to now evolve. And to answer your question, at that time, it was more about smell and packaging. And then fast forward 5-7 years down the line, people started becoming interested in what is going into the product, what is the ingredient you're using, are you using parabens, are you using stuff that is not good for us? And then, of course, we got hit by the internet, then, Google came in.
Exactly,
And suddenly, we found that the consumer is coming in with a lot of homework done into the store.
This also I want to ask you if this is true or not, because I couldn't believe it, that you stayed so true to tradition that when you're manufacturing or you're making the oils, there's Vedic mantras being chanted. Is that true?
Again, a very unique aspect.
It is true, right?
Yes, it is true.
Okay.
It is very true.
Okay, wow.
It's a unique aspect of the brand that we treat the intangibles as importantly as we treat the tangibles. So it's not just giving you a product in beautiful packaging, but everything that we do around it. Like our Dayton Lychee cream, for example. We actually have mantras because we feel it adds a certain vibration. Now, you said everybody wants a clinical trial, everybody wants to understand, does it really work or it doesn't?
Yeah.
We don't know. But we feel that it gives that extra, even if it's a vibration, it gives that feeling, it connects very beautifully with the consumer. Because, when you hear that story and you're thinking, I'm doing a lot more than just buying a cream, I think it becomes a very strong emotional connect to the brand.
No, definitely. For even someone like me, I feel that it says a lot about the brand and about your fundamentals, your ethos, your faith in the tradition. My favorite product is your rose sea salt scrub. That is my absolute favorite.
Well, you've got great taste because that's the same product that was given to Mr. Leonard Lauder
Oh.
In New York. That's what brought him into
I
seeing
agree
the
with
brand.
him. Good choice. No, definitely. I think that is your star product. It just smells beautiful. So from here, I mean, I want to understand the most exciting, I would say, a milestone, that Forest Essentials. I was very happy to read it when I did, when Estee Lauder came in. And how did that whole thing happen?
So that was actually a very interesting story. We had just opened a store in opposite the Mahalakshmi Temple on Warden Road.
Okay.
And I'd come to visit the store, and I think this was in about 2006 or 2007. And I got a call from the Estee Lauder country manager, and he said that, Mr. Leonard Lauder, Estee Lauder's son, is in India.
Okay.
And Leonard had come in to attend Elizabeth Hurley's wedding.
Oh, yes.
Because she was a brand ambassador for Estee Lauder as well.
Right.
And that he's in India and he'd like to meet with you. And I just landed in Bombay. Air travel was expensive, and I was thinking, why should I go back to Delhi?
Really?
Yes,
okay.
because I also didn't know much about, I was learning about skincare as well.
Right.
And so I called my mother, and she said, if he wants to meet, then I think you should come back. So I literally flew back, and my mother and I went to meet Leonard Lauder. And one thing I will say, he is the most charming, amazing visionary I've ever met in my life, even till date. And I think we both fell in love with him in that first meeting.
Wow.
And he came and said that what he said was very inspiring. He said, listen, I've just come, your products were given to me by this lady on my board, a lady, Lynn Rothschild, who went on to do business in India. And he said that I was intrigued to see what was happening. We had one store in Khan Market. He had gone there, he'd grilled the staff, he had seen the products.
Wow.
Literally he had done everything.
He's done all of that before he met you.
Hands-on. Literally from the airport, he went to the store, grilled the staff, asked them what's selling, what's not selling, why this product is, and so he knew a lot of it already. And he met with us, and he said, this reminds me of when my mother and I started the business.
Really? Is that how they started?
They started exactly the same way. She was in the garage making the products.
No.
And he was helping in the back end. And he said that, I'm amazed. He says, I know you have no background in business, but what you're doing instinctively and what you're doing as a journey is very similar to what we did. So he says, congratulations. And if there's any help that you ever need or anything, because I love brands, I'm happy to help you.
So it was just that much. There was no business conversation.
There was no business. In fact, he said, I'm not even here to give you money. I'm not here to buy anything.
Oh, wow.
I just want to say what you're doing is inspirational and keep at it, and we'll be in touch. And then we never heard back from him, by the way.
So this was the year was...
2007.
And,
okay. A full year passed and we didn't hear back. So we said, it was a passing thing. He's forgotten, he's gone back. And I was traveling to Barbados in 2008 for the World Cup cricket.
Oh, you're a cricket fan.
So, somewhat. I went more for Barbados and the cricket, both. But I went and I happened to stop in New York on my way to get there. It was the cheapest ticket available, and we said we'll stop in New York. And we had a dinner reservation that night at a very famous Italian restaurant in New York. And after not seeing him for a year, I saw him in the lobby of the restaurant.
Oh my God.
Absolutely, it was just a coincidence.
This is destiny. This is some crazy coincidence, actually.
It really was. And my best friend who was with me, he said, don't you know Mr. Lauder? And I said, yes, but I met him once. He's not going to remember me, so I'm not going to go say hello. And of course, a boarding school friend, so he goaded me and all of that. And I went and said hello, and it took him 2 seconds, but then he just turned around and he said, Sam, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm on my way to cricket. And he said, are you here to meet us? I said, no, I haven't come to meet you at all.
Yeah.
And he said, then he turned to his wife, Evelyn, and he said, this is the wonderful gentleman and the brand I told you about. So when I said charming, you could make out how charming he was, right? And then I went on. And I actually called my mother at 2 o'clock in the morning and I said, guess who I just met? She's like, what's happened? And I was like, I met him. And immediately after that, Estee Lauder actually started calling us frantically.
After that?
Yeah. Because apparently he had gone back and he had told them that I want you to reach out to this brand. And when they, investigated us, they found we're too small. We had really nothing to talk about. So they thought it was a passing phase for him. But he apparently got very pissed off about it. And
so when he went back from India, he'd asked them to get in touch with you people.
Then we came back and suddenly there were 25 people who arrived from Estee Lauder and everything happened. And within, I think, 6 or 8 months, we got into a partnership. And it was a beautiful partnership because they took a minority stake because they said, you're so small, we're only here to help. So very charming way of doing things. It wasn't, so much of a business transaction as it was, a coming together of a vision. And it's been a wonderful partnership since then.
That's beautiful. It's almost destiny. I think it was destined to happen. Plus, you're right. I think more than business is about the fact that you are so similar in the way you started, the instinct, the whole passion for what you do.
Absolutely.
And that is probably the best partnerships, because it's not just about the money then.
It was never, because we didn't, he said, do you have a valuation? We said, we don't. He said, do you have a banker? We said, not really. He said, do you have anyone who you can talk to about making a deal? So we literally called within my circle of friends and we said, okay, can we get someone together? And in fact, the valuation that we got from our own bankers, he gave a bigger valuation than that because he said, I just want to give it as a sign of respect. So that's how the partnership really started. It was fantastic.
Oh my God, this is huge.
Yeah.
This really is huge.
It's an unusual way of
But
starting.
I have to say, this story is amazing. I don't know why we've not heard of this.
I was joking because I said the money they may have spent on sending the people here to do the negotiations was literally more than our turnover. So it was just absolutely...
It is seriously amazing what he saw and the promise he saw in the brand is definitely, it's a huge compliment. It's a very big validation, I think, from somebody that big. You've come a long way. So what does Forest Essentials do from here on?
I think we've still got a lot to do. And like I said, it's been so filled with passion that everything else that you think about, even today now we have valuations and numbers and business plans. But that passion is still very inherent in what we do. That same excitement, like, when you told me that you love Forest Essentials.
I love Forest Essentials.
It still causes the same excitement with me as it did 15 years ago, even today. I don't take anything for granted. So I think the way we work is that we always get up every morning and we say, what can we do better? What can we do to make the brand better? And that's really how we start the day.
I want to talk a little bit about your mother. Is she the one who had knowledge of Ayurveda or something is that something that you brought in?
No, Ayurveda was all her. She had a lot of interest in terms of beauty, a lot of traditions that were passed on, And of course, like I told you, we've got a home in Rishikesh, up in the mountains. And if you really look at Ayurveda, the seat of the north of Ayurveda is in Rishikesh.
Yes.
And of course, the south is Kerala.
Correct.
So there was already a lot of Ayurveda around us. So it just was a matter of time in something that you're already immersed in, to take it out and then relook at it and then reinvent it was really what happened.
And now, yes, the other thing that I'd read, you have 40% women working.
In this case...
Is that like a conscious decision that your mom would think?
Absolutely. In this case, I've been dominated completely.
Okay.
So I answer to a woman. I have women working around me. So it's women empowerment was very, very important. And I've seen this personally, that women, in some cases, smarter, work harder, more loyal. And, it's amazing to see the kind of dedication that comes. Even from where we started our first workshop in the Himalayas, we made it so that women could work. Because women, there in the rural areas, don't have another profession. They take care of the house, they take care of the children. And when we started our first workshop, my mother was absolutely clear we're going to get women to work there. And it took us 2 months because, the village head, the sarpanch, they said, you're crazy. Their job is to take care of the house.
Yeah.
And we spent 2 months doing that, and we got women to come and work for us, and it was fantastic. And when we first paid them their salaries, we later heard that, they would go back home and the husbands would take the money and use it for drinking. Yeah. And so we opened bank accounts for them. We taught them how to use checkbooks. And eventually, they became the head of the house. They run their homes, they have financial freedom, and it's inspiring because so much you take for granted, right? And then we went a step further. We teamed up with an NGO called Pathshala, and we started working with these government schools.
Okay.
And we started bringing in additional resources through the NGO for better English, for better math. We started putting a system into place where they would have a skill set to be able to move to a bigger town and be able to get a better job. And I think we're starting to see results. It's been, so many years now. The batches have started to graduate. They're of a certain quality. So as a brand, we've been very clear on what we want to do and give back to the community. So community is a very big word for us.
Must be very gratifying, this whole process, not just the money, like you said. Is this your mom's vision? Is it your mother's vision?
I think the women empowerment definitely was something that she brought to the table. But going into what we started doing now, I think it's something that we both talked passionately about, and we really did it together where I found the NGOs, we came up with the ideas of doing the school. And I think, yes, it's been a process where
Yeah.
it's just been
I think
naturally going into
it's
play.
just beautiful. I didn't know that you also do all of this, and the fact that you don't advertise or do it just for the PR is just really, it is amazing, and I want to thank you for doing that. It says a lot about the brand. So, from what I can understand, your mother is the impulsive one. She's the maverick, and you're the one who keeps everything rooted and grounded. I believe she did something really bizarre very early on when the Forest Essentials just started. Do you want to tell me this happened at the Hyatt, and what was the story?
So I think it's a true sign of entrepreneurism. We actually had just started the business. We didn't have our own stores. It was very limited quantities. It was just a small distribution. Like I said, a garage setup. And we got called in for a meeting at the Hyatt Hotel in Delhi. And there was an expat general manager, Peter Fulton, who's now a top head of the Hyatt globally.
Okay.
But he called us and he said, listen, your soaps and your shampoos have come across my desk, and would you like to supply it to the hotel? And I'm thinking, how the hell are we going to supply it to the hotel? He said, I need tens of thousands of them.
Yeah.
And my mother, without blinking an eyelid, said, of course we can. Only 10,000? Don't you need more?
Wow.
And I looked at her.
And what were you thinking?
And I was just like, wow. But I realized,
Yeah. But what's the first conversation that you had after you left the office and you're sitting in the car? What was the conversation?
In the most polite way possible, are you crazy?
You said that to her.
I said,
Yeah.
how the hell? She said, listen, it's not about thinking about what you can't do. It's about getting it done, right? And she said, if this opportunity has come, she says, if we have to work day and night and we have to get it done, then let's look at it from that point of view. Let's not worry about what we can't do, because that's not the way you're going to build a business. So lots of lessons early on.
My God, she's a natural.
Yeah. She was like a natural businesswoman, which I never imagined. It's amazing how much you learn on the job and how sometimes instinct and, survival just plays a role. It's fantastic. So
oh my God.
We worked day and night. I mean, we got it done on time. We got it given to him. And he was very happy with it.
This was lovely, and now we are going to move on to the next segment, which is called Rockford on the Rocks. Here we go. Has your skincare routine altered after Forest Essentials?
No.
No?
No.
It hasn't?
I still use a 3-step routine. It's with Forest Essentials products.
It's with Forest Essentials products.
But my routine has remained the same.
So what's the routine?
It's soap, a face wash, and a cream.
That's it.
Yep.
All right, that's not a routine. That's what everyone does. Second, your favorite Forest Essentials product, and you have to pick just one.
It's my soap. I love the soaps we make, and I think it's an old-fashioned way of bathing, but I love soaps.
Okay. What does your ideal Sunday look like?
On my rare Sundays that I do get, I think if I can manage a round of golf, if I can manage lunch with the family, and my afternoon nap, that is a perfect Sunday for me.
You know how perfect that sounds? Okay, next. Most memorable customer feedback.
I think, it's funny when you ask that. We get so much feedback, and a very, very emotional feedback. It's never about great product. It's always a story. And I think the story that moved me the most was when we got written by a mother whose child was in the hospital and is a cancer patient. And she said that every time she opens a product, the smell brings her joy and really makes her day. And I just thought that was the most unbelievable story related to skincare I've ever heard.
I just got the chills.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was. I still remember this mail many years ago.
Okay. Next. If you could open a Forest Essentials store anywhere in the world, which city would you pick and why?
I would open it in Paris.
But why Paris?
Paris for me is the height of fashion in every way. Whatever they do so beautifully, and everything is at its pinnacle. And I would probably add a Tokyo or a Paris. For me, both cities are different in their ways, but the pinnacle of what they do. And I think it's so important that we represent India there.
I hope that happens really soon, really. That would be amazing to represent India there. Next is one person, living or dead, you'd love to have as a brand ambassador.
Oh my God. I think it's Rekha, who we think epitomizes everything we do about the brand. She's elegant, she's quiet, and she's mysterious, and she's got so much that that you're wanting to find out more about, and I think that's represents our brand very beautifully.
It just adds so much to her persona, right? Good choice. Weirdest product or ingredient suggestion that you've received?
Snail mucus.
Really?
Yep.
And did you use it?
It's a big ingredient in China, and they said, can you find the equivalent of something here in India? And I said, I don't think so. I said,
It's like when we pick up the snail,
the mucus that comes out.
the thing that comes out.
Yeah, they make a product out of it.
What product do they do?
It's some kind of a facial product.
And what does that do? It's like
I
anti-aging.
didn't go very deep into it, but I suspect something to do with hydration or anti-aging, like you said.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're not using it yet?
No, I think we have a lot of vegetarians in this country, and I think they will die.
Okay, all right. We're now moving on to the last segment, the Rockford Mentors Den. So, Sam, this is the segment in which you have to put on your mentor's hat and answer a few questions that some of the viewers have sent us, and we want to know from you. How do I convince my family to believe in my startup?
I think if you show your family, or whether you like to call them family or investors, if you show them that you truly believe in both what you're creating and on yourself, I think that's the strongest story you can tell them. And I think if that passion comes through, then they will be convinced.
They will. Next, what is the one thing about an entrepreneur's life that is not as glamorous as we think?
Probably travel, because everyone says, oh, wow, you're flying to London or Tokyo or Bombay or Delhi. I think after a certain point, it becomes a way of life. And I think it's something that I do now more automatically. On one side, I do enjoy travel, but, traveling 2 weeks a month is not fun. So it's glamorous, but it's also a tough side to it.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. It gets so hectic. You're just living out of a suitcase.
Suitcase on a plane.
It's not a good feeling. What's the new cool thing in the Founders Circle?
I think now that every founder's realized that it's not just about, growing your money through top line. I think now they've realized that there are still basic principles that you live by. And I think everyone's mantra is now of how we can make it, successful, not just by acquiring more consumers and making it big, but I think it's important that you look at all aspects of the business. For example, when my mother started the business, and she still does to the very day, she treats it like a housewife. So she's very clear that you have to do something that is sustainable and that works well and has a long shelf life.
Okay, next is who's an upcoming Indian entrepreneur to watch out for?
Oh, wow. I think there's so many.
There's so many right now.
There's so much going on in this country. It's fascinating. I'm loving it. I think if you look at it, both women entrepreneurs, men entrepreneurs, the kind of products that they're doing now, from food to beauty to everything, it's fascinating. So for me to answer it as a general question, it's a tough one because there are some more prominent than the others, but that doesn't make it any less for anyone who's not known about. So I think the whole ecosystem for entrepreneurs is fantastic.
Thanks so much, Sam, for all the insight. But let's talk a little bit about the people who shaped For Essentials. Some story about the inner circle, and what advice in particular have you got from your mother?
In our inner circle, when we first started, I had an uncle who was part of the family who was actually a consultant to many businesses. And he, in fact, sat on the board of L'Oreal. And we invited him to become our first chairman, and again, very early days. And I think what he brought to the table was discipline. I think he brought the idea of corporate governance, which I think is so important in any business that you do. Have goals, have an idea of how it works, both from a finance perspective as well. So I think that early mentorship gave us a lot of leg up in how we move forward. And advice from my mother, there's so many advices, but I mean, just work hard and it will come.
Don't think of what will not happen.
Don't take anything for granted.
Like she said after the Hyatt meeting.
Exactly.
I think that was the best advice to any entrepreneur, really.
Absolutely.
Okay, and now for the final question. I know that your mom's favorite motto is hard work never killed anyone. What's one mantra that you live by, and you will have to write that for me right here, which is going to go on the wall of inspiration that we have at the Rockford Circle, where we put up all the mantras that entrepreneurs have shared with us, and we would love to know what's your mantra. All right, thank you. Let me have a look. Don't just sell your product, sell your story and believe in yourself. I think the story is very, very special. also because I think we as Indians have always been so fascinated by global brands, by everything that is the West is doing. And this is a homegrown brand, which is now almost competing with global brands. What do you have to say about homegrown brands right now in India?
I think we're all at an inflection point. I think all the stars are coming together. India is becoming this great superpower. We're getting globally recognized for so many things. I think we have so much to offer. And I think what we've done is just start that entire evolution of Indian brands becoming confident, of being able to go out there and say, you know what, we have what it takes, whether it's in terms of quality, whether it's in terms of tradition, heritage, history. And that is something that now the world has to see, and that we can proudly stand anywhere, like I said, in any capital in the world and represent what we bring to the table.
What do you think has changed? Why did we not have this kind of confidence earlier?
I think the mindset was always about exports. It was always about doing
the
stuff
factory.
for other brands, the factories.
We're the factory.
Yes. And I think the new generations have now realized what is so special about a brand taking our stuff and packaging it outside. Why can't we do that ourselves? And I think there's no better time than now to start starting your dreams come true, so it's fantastic.
This is the time. Believe in yourself and find the product that you believe in and sell it and become an entrepreneur. This is the best time to be an entrepreneur in
Live
India.
your dream, because this you can't get any better circumstances than this.
Thank you so much. We had such a lovely chat and so inspiring, and what an amazing journey that you've had, your mother's had, and the way that you're running your business is just beautiful. So thank you so much for being here on our show.
Thank you very much for having me as well on the show.
Thank you.
It's been a great show, though.
Thank you. And thank you to all of you for watching Rockford Circle. This is Chitrangada Singh signing off, and we will see you next time.
It's actually the first time I've done this.
Really? Have you never been on a show like this? You've never done a